The outlines aren't visible in an institutional sense. That is, the outlines of a new world as a new division are perfectly clear, of spheres of influence. So the question is, there are two questions. I mean, the outlines of the world are quite visible. It's a new partition of the world. Whether we like it or not, the leftist illusions that the world can remain undivided have collapsed. So only two questions remain. Who will divide it, and how will they divide it? You've already mentioned Akunin, but I'll continue. You can divide it barbarically or idiotically or in a civilized way. The question is, who will divide it idiotically, who will divide it barbarically, or who will divide it in a civilized way? And who? So there are two options. There's a system of returning to a bipolar world, but only where the USSR used to be. There will be China. This is a very easily foreseeable scenario. One in which the United States of America will eventually and ultimately shrink back and stop claiming the title of the sole superpower, which it tried to claim for 30 years, between the collapse of the USSR and today, and Trump, let's say. So essentially, Trump, in an "I'm coming for you" format, signals the famous Yeltsin line, "I'm tired, I'm leaving." All of America's policy is, in effect, a policy of gradually withdrawing from the global world and instead focusing on a much narrower, more limited world. This approach, the world of the Western Hemisphere. So then what? If someone leaves, then someone else arrives. Who arrives? The simplest assumption is the expansion of China's international influence even against its will. China hasn't actually matured enough for such global influence and global responsibility. There's a slightly different philosophy there, and events are ahead of their time. The second option would indeed be a 2+ system. That is, besides America and China, there will be minority shareholders, so to speak, of the global world order, which will include Russia, certainly, and Europe in one format or another, and maybe someone else. That's as far as who will do the dividing. Now, the question is how they will divide it. Will they divide it in what we might call a Trump-Putin way? Let's just call it that for now. In other words, is this simply a truly giant leap backwards in philosophy and ethics, all the way back to the mid-19th century, somewhere even before the Boer War? Or they will divide it, already taking into account some established rules and guidelines, so to speak, with proper respect and consideration for the interests of minority shareholders. I've always used this analogy that, essentially, if the planet were to look like a kind of joint stock company, then joint stock companies can differ significantly in their policies regarding minority shareholders. That is, in some places they are squeezed dry, while in others they are guaranteed certain rights. This is also a very important question, what this division will be like. As it was, or still, according to some rules, but the general direction of movement is clear. It's a search for a new balance of power after the lost balance of power of the Potsdam World Order.
Thank you very much, Vladimir Borisovich, for joining us.